shortly. Preparing to live.
Okay, and the event will be recorded, so I'll be starting in a couple of seconds. So we'll just hear recording in progress, and that will be the beginning.
Then we'll start speaking English.
I'm sure you can record. If not, I can record to cloud, whichever one works.
Wow, a lot of people are here
Actually,
already.
recording to cloud will be great.
All
What do you
right.
think?
Kingi, I like your style. You show the detail on the front of each of the style you get, but it's tasteful, very tasteful, very tasty.
All right, and that will be the beginning.
Then we'll start speaking English.
I'm sure you can record. If not, I can record to cloud, whichever one works.
Nice.
Wow, a lot of people are here.
Recording to cloud will be great.
All
What do
right.
you think?
Kingi, I like your style. You show the
There's a delay at Kingi's end, but I believe I can start now since all right, let me start. Kindly help with the recording. Is it recording now?
All right. Yep, we are good.
Fantastic. In 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to... Wow. It's a beautiful evening right here in Africa, and I feel as excited as you are right now because something historical is happening today. And it is something that I am so delighted to be a witness and a partaker of it. It's called Africa Voiceover Day. I am super excited to see our faces from different countries and the continent, people from the eastern part of Africa, from the western part of Africa, from the northern part of Africa, from Central Africa, and from Southern Africa. We are all converging to commemorate the maiden edition of what we know today as Africa Voiceover Day. And this is happening 6 p.m. West African time, 5 p.m. GMT. You can calculate the time from wherever you are. But the good thing is that you're here. My name is Tolulope Kolade. They call me T-Code. I'm a voiceover artist, a full-time voiceover artist, I should add. I am also a podcaster, the host of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective. I am the creative partner at the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. I'm also the founder of Voiceverse and Coded Voiceovers. And it is my pleasure to be the host for this event. Now, this event is going to be a very interesting one because I'm not doing this alone. I have some of Africa's top voiceover artists. I like to call them not just voiceover artists, but influencers in the voiceover industry because they hold very, very strategic and key positions in voiceover in Africa. I'm talking about people who have excelled in their voiceover career. They are founders of institutions in the voiceover industry in Africa across the continent, of course. So I will be introducing them really soon. But before I introduce them, I must also acknowledge the presence of the beautiful faces here, voiceover artists, podcasters, non-voiceover artists. I like to call everybody stakeholders in the voiceover industry, right? So even if you are still anticipating to begin your voiceover career, or you're a voiceover artist already, or you are an animator, or you're an editor, a video editor, whatever it is that you do in the voiceover space or related to the voiceover space, we're very, very happy to have you here. And together we are celebrating Africa Voiceover Day. If this were if this were a physical event, this would have been the right time to give a round of applause to yourself for making it to this event. So if you can do that, probably with an emoji, I'd appreciate it. Please give yourself a round of applause. I'd like to see emojis everywhere. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So far, we have about 45 people joining already. If you have someone that you know that should be here and the person is not here, please reach out to them, tell them that we are live, send them the link as we will be doing this on Zoom and also on YouTube. We're already doing it on Zoom. The information is that after a while, some people might not be able to access the space because we might exhaust the amount of people we can have in. So it's the right time to get the information out there. People should join right now, else they would have to listen or watch on Zoom. And this event is recorded, so you can watch it again. I should also let you know that while the event is going on, if you have questions, a few questions will be permitted. Maybe not questions, but you have, things to share, things to say, opinion that really counts because your opinions matter. We would be happy to have them, spoken or read out loud. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the maiden edition of Africa Voiceover Day, happening today, the 5th of May, 2024. All right, now I can see my guests are in the building. We have, I'll be introducing them properly, but I just want to give some mentions right now before I speak to the first person who I'll be calling up to speak to me. Okay, so I can see that we have Emeka Chukwuemeka Onunkwo. Chukwuemeka is one of our guests and also one of the very influential figures in the voiceover industry in Africa. He's the founder of the Nigerian Voiceover Bank, and this has been existing for over 10 years. Chukwuemeka is also a casting director in the African space, is the founder of Hippo Voices as well. So it's a pleasure to have Chukwuemeka. Hello, Chukwuemeka. Can you please unmute your mic? Let's speak to you.
Hi, thank you for introducing me. I didn't see that coming though. I quite appreciate that. Just to mention, yes. I think there is a Nigerian voiceover bank. Mine is the Nigerian Voice Bank. Just so I don't take somebody's credit.
I understand. I'm going to put some clarity to that. Don't worry. But to also add to your portfolio is the fact that you are the founder or the convener of VO Africa Conference. So I had to, chip that in there.
Thank you for the mention.
And how do you feel about today being Africa Voiceover Day?
Oh, I feel really excited. One of the reasons why I'm really excited is the doors of opportunity this day will open up for the young voices in the African space. That confidence it gives you to go on and use your voice, to the fact that there's some sort of recognition that covers you now. And then I can already imagine the amount of contents that will come out of this day in future, and activities, things that will help the industry grow. So really, I feel really excited. I feel like it's like an umbrella covering the voice arts in Africa, no matter where the part of the space in Africa you're in, but it's something that you can reckon with as a voice talent in Africa. Yes, I'm excited about this day.
Awesome. Giving us an identity, something we can reckon with as voice artists in Africa. That's Chukwuemeka Onunkwo, ladies and gentlemen, from Nigeria. Okay, let's move on to the next guest. I have another guest from Nigeria, and this time around, I will be bringing on board the first voice acting director for West Africa. He's also an award-winning voice actor and the founder of Voice Acting Africa, which is a community for voiceover talents across the continent. I'm talking about Mr. Remy Olutimai. Hi, Remy. Good evening.
Hey, Tiku. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for having me on here. Thank you for that generous introduction. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
It's a pleasure. And how do you feel about today being Africa Voiceover Day?
I think it's long overdue. I think that it's showing it's a symptom or a sign that the initiative in the voiceover community in Africa is waking up to greater duties than just, should we say, finding gigs and getting jobs. This is a movement happening. And And I believe that it's best to recognize it as that so that it will continue.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's our Independence Day. Let me put it that way.
Rightly said, Remy. It's a movement, and Remy says it's our Independence Day. Thank you so much for such beautiful interpretation of Africa Voiceover Day. Let's leave West Africa now. Let's go to the southern part of Africa, where I have one of Voiceover's legendary performer. He knows who he is right now. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the multiple award-winning voiceover talent, and he holds the record for being the highest ever nominated and awarded voiceover artist from the Society of Voice Arts Awards. That's SOVAS. Is obviously one of the top voiceover artists in Africa. I'm talking about no other person than Mr. Chilu Lemba. Good evening, Chilu.
Elder.
Elder. All right.
Can you hear me? I
Hi,
didn't know you were talking
Elder
about me.
Chilu.
Is that for real? The most nominated.
Oh
Tico,
my.
good to be in the company of you guys, and I feel so underdressed because I'm looking at King E, I'm looking at you, Tico, I'm looking at everyone's just dressed so regally in terms of this. Sean, look at you with your so. No, it's good to be here. It's an honor to be amongst such legends. You know, the only reason why I probably have more accolades by this much is because I'm older by a lot. I'm almost 50, you know, so there's no excuse as opposed in doing this kind of thing. But I want to salute everyone who's been involved in organizing Africa Voiceover Day. You guys have done a lot. I'm feeling like I'm a guest in terms of your initiative because all these minds that came together to do something that is extremely special, something that I have not experienced in my almost 30 years in voiceover. To bring it together, you guys need to be saluted. You need to be applauded, and long may it live. You know, may it live past all our lives. So yeah, salute from my side.
Salute to you too, Elder Chilulemba. Thank you for, I mean, you're one of those voices we hear all the time. And I'm telling you, I mean, there's a lot I can say about that, but not for today. All right, then. We just heard from South Africa, the southern part of Africa, and we've heard from the western part of Africa. We're still coming back there, though. But let's move to the northern side of Africa. And we have one of VoiceOver's strongest personalities over there. I'm talking about a professional voiceover artist who is the founder of Evolution. He's also the controller of Gravy for the Brain Arabia. I'm talking about Mr. Nadim Khalid from Egypt. Hi, Nadim.
Hi, Tico. Thank you so much. You're very generous with, I don't know, describing everything, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And let me just welcome everybody here. Thank you so much for making this happen. I'm so proud of what I see in front of me right now. It's just really.
Yeah. It's nice seeing you again, Nadim. I think the last time I saw you, your hair was lower than this. So yeah.
Well, that's what you get when you have, sorry?
Yeah, go on.
I was gonna say that's what you have when like, you know, back-to-back sessions and projects going on, so you have no time to shave. So caveman look. I have to.
Of course. And how do you feel about today celebrating Africa Voiceover Day?
Honestly, it feels fantastic because look at how many people have the same question, in my opinion, which is, are we there yet? What should we do? How should we move forward? Like, this is how many people that are proactive and want to build a future for all of us. So I'm just happy to be amongst brothers and sisters. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nadim. All right. I'll be moving to Kenya, and I'm aware that Jennifer Canary is in the building. So I'd like to be sure of that. If Jennifer can just, oh, awesome. But before you speak, Jennifer, I must do your proper introduction. If you say Chilulemba is the male elder in the voiceover space right here in Africa. Then you can have Jennifer Canary, regarded to be the female elder in the voiceover industry. She has over 2 decades of experience. She's the founder of the Voice Actors League of Kenya, also the co-administrator over there, and she's an executive voiceover artist, pro coach, voice talent, all the way from Kenya, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about no other person than Jennifer Canary. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, hello, T Code.
I mean,
Truly,
yeah, go on.
happy to be in the room. Like Nadim said, your introductions are most generous. But I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own the eldership.
Please do, please do.
Because look at what we've birthed. You could say, you're movers and shakers, and you've made this day happen. So it's a proud moment, very proud moment for me. And I too am amazed at everyone who's jumping in on this. This is amazing. Greetings to everybody. Welcome. Only good things can happen. Yeah. So glad to be in the house.
Thank you so much for your support so far. Jennifer is very supportive of the voiceover industry, I must say. And with the entire team of Voice Actors League of Kenya behind her, it makes it so beautiful. All right, now let's get back to West Africa, where we have one of Africa's leading voice talents who has also gone global in the voiceover space. They call him the brand master. He's a founder of many institutions, but I'll just be mentioning a few. I am talking about the founder of the Voiceover Academy, the founder of the Voiceover Bank, a multiple award-winning voice talent, sitting on the board of voiceovers across different institutions globally. I'm talking about Mr. Seun Shobo from Nigeria. Good evening, Mr.
Hi,
Shobo.
Tico. Hi, everyone. So good to be here. Really, really amazing time. I've looked forward to this kind of things, and it's finally here. So this is legacy, and this is going to outlive a lot of us, right? So I'm definitely happy to be here. Definitely happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here as well. You've always been very Pan-African, even in your dressing. We can't catch you not looking African. And how do you feel about we finally owning a day for ourselves that we can call Africa Voiceover Day?
Well, I mean, I feel it's a powerful statement, and not just a powerful statement for us as Africans, right? It's a powerful statement for us as citizens of the world, right? It tells the world. I've had people call me from other parts of the world and say, "This is amazing. You guys should make this a holiday, a national holiday." And I said, "Well, that's the goal, but this is where we're going to start from, and that's where it's going to go to, right?" But this is a creative force. We are finally telling the world that, listen, we're here, we're not playing, right? And that should be the attitude. And I'm grateful to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Shobo. All right, I am hoping that we have Leslie from Uganda here. But before I introduce Leslie, let me introduce another African visionary. This man has invested a lot in the African voiceover space, organizing Africa's Pioneer Voiceover Conference. He's a king in that respect, not just called a king because, we like to call him Kingi, but of course his work speaks for him. I'm talking about the founder of the Voiceover Workshop and Media. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Emmanuel Afemike King E.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you so much. T-Code. I think this is beautiful, and everyone here is just exciting. I think this is probably the first time all of us are in a room at the same time like this for something like this. So it is beautiful to see. I'm so excited about it. So the future is big, and that's a good thing. So thank you so much for the welcome, and big shout out to everyone who has been behind the scene. Bidemi, well done. You know, you're not in front of the camera, but you're doing amazing, amazing work. Thank you so much. And T-Code, well done. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming out.
Thank you, King E. It's a pleasure to have you here. All right, guys, let's move on to the female participants that we have. We've introduced Jennifer Canary earlier. I'm hoping that we can have Leslie Kasumba from Uganda and South Africa. But while we wait for Leslie, let me introduce to you the founder of the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. She is a communications and idea strategist. She is also the founder of the Africa Podcast and Voice Awards. No other person than Bidemi Adedire. Hello, Bidemi.
Hi, Tolu. I'm so sorry my video has been off, and that's because, we have a lot of people in here. But Tolu, thank you so much. I'm so glad this is happening. I am in the chat section, guys, so please just wish someone a happy Africa Voiceover Day today. And also, Tolu, I wanted to let you know that Leslie is actually in this meeting, so she's on and ready whenever you are.
Beautiful. Thank you, Bidemi. I know you still have a lot to say, but I'll reserve that for later because I'll be calling you to speak very soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we're talking about an Amazon, a superwoman in the media space in Africa, all the way from Uganda. And she has been so influential across the continent. You can call her a Nigerian. You can call her Ugandan, you can call her South African, because if she speaks to you in Nigerian accent, you would believe she's Nigerian. I'm talking about an international award-winning voiceover artist, also, recipient of the Silvers Award. She's a podcaster as well, the podcaster of the Africa Whisperer, and the founder of She Speaks Africa. She's a media personality. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Leslie Kasumba. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Tico. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was quite the introduction. I'm going to try avoid switching into my Nigerian accent. My dad is always like, where were you born? But yeah, I am Ugandan, grew up in South Africa, and that's where I really started my voiceover career. And for me, it started off just as a mistake, and I was able to really have an amazing career. It was something that I never knew was possible. So to be part of Africa Voiceover Day with everybody who's part of the founding committee and all of the entire community from around the continent, it's amazing. I feel like, the whole world is looking at Africa. We've seen our musicians move. We've seen not like all of the film, the fashion, all of that. I believe the next movement is going to be within the voice over sector, because we've got the largest population. We've got the audience that people need to speak to. We've got the diversity, and I'm just so excited. I think that, it's limitless. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Really happy to have you here too, Leslie. Beautiful to see your face. All right. Okay, everyone, welcome once again. I would reintroduce myself for those who are just joining. My name is Tolu Kolade. They call me T-Code. I am a full-time voiceover artist, the creative partner at APVA, that's the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. It's my pleasure to be the host of today's event. Now, I know I mentioned a couple of African countries, but there are people from different countries in Africa that are not on the speakers panel right now. So you can you can rep your country by dropping the flag and the name of your country in the comment section. I would love to see that so that we can acknowledge everyone. It's beautiful when we celebrate ourselves, the diversity, the colors of Africa, the accents, the voices of Africa. And that leads me to talking about the fact that we've got a theme for the maiden edition of Africa Voiceover Day. The theme is Voices of Africa. And we'll be talking about that in a bit, why we chose that theme for Africa Voiceover Day. I already see people dropping their locations or their countries in the comment section. Someone is, from Egypt. I see you. I've got Kenya. The Kenyans are really, dropping it hot here. We've got South Africa. We've got Cameroon. We've got Nigeria, Nairobi, Kenya. Senegal is here. Cameroon is here. Ghana is here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Shout out to you all. Thank you so much for being a part of this. All right, now. So let's get started in our conversation. I'm sure everybody's wondering, how did we come about Africa Voiceover Day? What led to what? What led to this set of people coming together to say, you know what, let's start a voiceover day for ourselves in Africa? Of course, I've witnessed voiceover voice day. There is usually voice day. There's also voiceover day in the US, but we don't have one for Africa. So why, how did we come about this? And to explain further, to give us context and background, I'll be inviting the founder of the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists, Bidemi Adedire. She will be telling us or giving us context and background to the formation of Africa Voiceover Day. Hello, Bidemi. The mic is yours.
I am back again. Thank you, Tolu. And I want to share the background, and I feel like everyone here can agree to why this day should exist. But some of you might not know this. The Africa Voiceover Day thing started 2 years back. I had reached out to Jennifer after the awards saying this could be a great idea. And she said, let's think on it. Let's really think about what this could mean. And then fast forward to 2023, the last quarter of the year, and then this year. I don't know how many of us saw the video, the first video, the reveal video that showed this whole emails going out left, right, and center. That was what led to this. I reached out again to everyone because one thing we also embody in APV is the fact that we don't do things alone. And I knew for a fact that this cannot happen without everybody that we know fully on board. So we reached out to as many persons as we can. And guess what? A lot of us were already thinking about this. So it made sense for us to come together to form this coalition and let's celebrate our diversity. Let's celebrate our wins and own our challenges and see what needs to do and see how we can move and push the industry forward. So I'm really glad this day is finally here. This is the little that I can do. This is my contribution. You are the stars of today, the voiceover artists across the continent. You have made our days watching TV interesting. We have unforgettable adverts and commercials and radio jingles because of you all, and you deserve to be recognized and celebrated. Thank you, Tolu.
Thank you so much, Bidemi, and thank you for, taking that step to reach out to us. That was very, very bold. And thanks to everyone who responded because you all made this happen. It wouldn't take just Bidemi alone doing this. It'll take an entire village because in Africa, that's how we raise kids, right? It takes an entire village to raise a child in Africa. So this is beautiful, and that's the beauty in diversity. All right. I am aware now that we have about 100, if not more, people. Right. We have close to 100 people on our Zoom right now, and the platform can only take about 100. So if you have people who are trying to get in and they're unable, they can watch this live on YouTube. We just dropped the link to the YouTube channel in the chat. So you can please direct them to YouTube. They can be a part of this. And yes, we are happy to communicate to them via that platform as well. So let's get into the conversations that we are talking about today. Africa Voiceover Day, the maiden edition. The theme is Voices of Africa. And now I'll be inviting our speakers one after the other. I'll be asking them questions and I'll be happy to get their feedback or their comments about it. So the first person I'll be engaging right now is Jennifer Canary, our female elder in the building. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, 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 hi.
All right. It's nice to hear you speak again. So we want to talk about the importance of voiceover or of the Africa Voiceover Day for us. And I recall that in one of the meetings leading to this day, you tried to stress the importance of the diversity um, being something to be acknowledged, right, by not just Africans, but especially people in diaspora. They understanding that Africa is not just one voice, but many voices. So I want you to speak to this, give us more context. Why do you think it is important for us to spotlight our diversity?
Thanks, Decode. Yeah, if I can step even further back, when Bidemi shared her dream, I was curious about, what would be different. So many themes have a day, but what does it really stand for? So what would we be doing with Africa Voiceover Day? But as she came back and she was speaking about it and it started to formulate, the fact that us as voice talent, sometimes you get a brief for an African voice, and it's like an amorphous, from wherever you are in Africa, you represent Africa. I mean, I've done voiceovers where they reached out to me and they said, yeah, we want your West African voice, this. And I'm like, no, this is not West African. My West African brothers and sisters have a very unique accent. And they said, that's okay, we just need an African accent. So their understanding of Africa is probably from a West African contact. So it was an opportunity to introduce them to the diversity of the accents, the diversity of the Francophone and the English. And so if we can start to share about that Africa is actually like the way you introduced us as North, South, East, and West, uniquely accented. And even in those areas, there are unique accents. It would be wonderful to use this platform to show how diverse Africa is. And yet, like that, I can speak for the continent. You can speak for the continent. And the thing for voiceover talent is, as long as you sound clear, as long as we can understand you, you speak for the continent. To the diaspora, we're like one, maybe not dark anymore, but one place that they recognize because of how we look. We're from this one continent. And so, yeah, to help them understand that, but also for us to appreciate that and carry our accent and our region high as we do the work out there.
Wow, that's beautiful, Jennifer, for helping us add context to the fact that we have various accents and voices in Africa. And there's something that I want to also pick from what you've said, that it is important for us to acknowledge and appreciate this, appreciate the fact that we have different accents. And why I'm particularly taking that from all you've said is that there's also that tendency for us as Africans to maybe disregard or not give enough value to the accents that we display. I see a lot of people who want to do voiceovers, but they start by trying to learn other accents, learn the Western accents. And I feel like there is a lot back home that you can do with your indigenous accent. So I would like to engage Leslie in this conversation about the different accents, the different voices. Leslie, born in Uganda, but grew up in South Africa, you would have a very rich understanding of these differences and these voices and how they also reflect in our communication with clients, especially foreign clients that don't know the different accents in Africa. What do you think, or how important is it for us to spotlight the different accents and languages that we have in Africa, going via this theme, Voices of Africa?
Yeah, thank you. That's such a powerful question. And I love what Jennifer was saying, what was going through my mind was that, when you're in the States, for example, or the UK, I'll use them as examples. If a brand is doing an advert and they wanted to get somebody with, I don't know all the different accents in the UK, but you know what I mean, with a Cockney accent because they're speaking to a particular group of people, they would get that right person, right? In America, if they're communicating to people who are in the southern part, like, the South of America versus a New York accent versus people who are in LA, all of that, they all have diverse accents. I think that one of the things and the reasons why people always try to box, they've been trying to box Africa for long. We've seen the explosion with music, but with voices, because we're so diverse as a people, it's so difficult for people to be like, to try and understand the continent, right? Because unless if you're, are blessed enough to be African, of African heritage, all of that, you can never really comprehend how so many diverse people are, but they're all one people. Do you see what I mean? So I think that from a brand perspective, if you're a brand and you're trying to get people, you have to be able to identify who you want to speak to in order for the communication to be effective. And so that's one thing I would always say, they need to do their research. For upcoming voice artists, and this is something that you alluded to, Tolu, was me being born in Uganda, I'm being born in Uganda, well, being from Uganda, pardon me, and then living in South Africa, it was, there was always an idea of like, oh, where does she really come from? What does she sound like? Sometimes in Uganda, I'd go back and then I didn't sound Ugandan enough. And then in South Africa, I didn't sound South African enough, or wherever it was, I didn't sound anything enough. And I had to find the confidence in myself. And I decided to train myself to be able to learn, to become more of an actor and to learn how people in different communities start. Just like if you're trained like actor, like on-screen actor, you can learn that. So that's what it is that I did. But what I do think is that people need to be confident in the voice that they have. For your voice, for your accent, there are people who are going to relate to it. You know what I mean? A while back, nobody would have ever imagined people would be speaking some of the slang from Africa internationally, but it's happening. So we just have to, in ourselves, be confident in our voices, in our accents, in our languages. Our voices and the way we sound also tell a story about where we grew up, how we moved about. It really does tell a story who our friends were, because that all comes into our voices. But I think that for voice artists, people who really want to go into the field, don't ever try sound like somebody else. I mean, if I woke up and in my wildest dreams I could sound like Jennifer, or I could sound like Chilu, I mean, that I would know that my paychecks would be really great, but I'm never going to be one of them. I'm never going to be one of them. And for every voice, there's an audience. And for every voice in Africa, there's a space. And as Africans, I think this day is very important because we are defining the rules of what it means to be an African voice artist, and it's good for us to take ownership. So I think that, there's so many opportunities and there's so many different accents, and we need to celebrate our differences, as voice actors.
Well said, Leslie. Well said. We need to celebrate our differences. We need to acknowledge and, enjoy the fact that we speak uniquely. And you also said something about, when you touched on how maybe if you had a voice like Chilu from South Africa, Elder Chilu, it will sound, maybe it's going to earn you a lot of bucks. So that brings me to this, what I've observed, to this observation that out there, they feel there is an African voice. They feel like, oh, okay, so there's an American accent, but there is an African accent. Now, in the US, like you said, or in the UK, there are different accents over there. But when it comes to, when you come to Africa, sometimes there is that feeling that, oh, there is an African accent. So I'd like to engage Emeka right now. Emeka is a casting director, right? And Emeka has worked with a lot of clients over the years, not just from a voiceover angle, but from a recruitment angle. And I remember when Emeka and I were speaking on my podcast, he talked about how he would have to correct that impression over and over and over again, right? So, Emeka, what's your take on this matter? The fact that we have unique voices, but some of these voices aren't acknowledged, by people who aren't African, and how can we help educate them better about our voices? Emeka, can you hear me? Okay, you're muted. In case you don't know, let me. All right.
Right. I was struggling to unmute, but yeah,
Okay.
thank you. All right. Thank you for this question. Now, the bulk of my work has been around casting in the African space, and it's been interesting, very interesting. I remember before COVID, I used to go to Côte d'Ivoire at least twice a year to cast for voices, and one of the things that I have experienced is the fact that there are two ways. The agencies have clarity on the voice they are looking for. A lot of them are knowledgeable enough that they're looking for a West African voice. Now, the challenge you have today is finding native speakers that can act with their voice. You find that a lot of the people, the moment you get that little orientation about voice acting, the next thing is that you want to sound like Chilu. You want to sound like Emmanuel. You want to sound like Leslie. You want to sound in local Nigerian language, you want to sound Tush. Then you miss out on a market, which is one of the reasons why I'm excited about the African Voiceover Day for the talents who are coming up. That your accent is unique, is good, and is marketable, and there are jobs for you. Then you go to the second class of the voice merchants, who have this impression that Africans just sound when I say throaty in some way. So anybody you bring that can, or if you can manage to distort your voice, then you sound African. Why is that so? Because the bulk of their audience have no clarity how an African voice sounds. So whatever you sell to them is an African voice they will consume. Wakanda, for instance, you can see, if you watch the movie, you as an African can't place some of those voices, some of those accents. You can't place them. This is not African. But you go to the West, it sounds very African to them. Why is it so? They haven't had a lot of African voices. In fact, in the first year where I was planning the View Africa conference, someone actually asked me, "Oh, you guys do voiceover in Africa?" Remember, they still have the impression that some people still have the impression that Africa is one big country. "Oh, you guys do? Oh, do you guys watch Disney in Africa?" And it was an honest question. And I say that there are loads of young people who are dreaming to cast their voices in Disney projects, who already have those. So you see that there is that disconnect between the African voice and the understanding of the African voice. And it doesn't even help it totally, in the sense that we are diverse. So the Nigerian, like I know I was speaking with someone when I said that the Nigerian English and the Kenyan English, and we'll stand up have an argument that English is English. I said, I understand. But the way the Nigerian speaks English is different from the way the Kenyan speaks English. So who do you want to cast for your project? So now, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But the space is also opening up. The African market is growing. The need to cast African talent is increasing. The need for brands to communicate in the language, the specific language their consumer speaks, is increasing, meaning there's going to be demand for voices that actually never thought that there was something for them. So voice talents in Africa now needs to stay original.
Wow, thank you so much, Emeka. And I like how you landed when you said voice talents in Africa needs to stay original, because that also helps answer the question that this brings to fore. How do we educate, non-Africans that we have several voices in Africa, right? And you also mentioned how it's important for them to identify which of the English do they want to cast. So if we have more authentic sounding voiceovers out there, it begins to speak to the fact that not all Africans speak the same. Even in West Africa, the way the Ghanaians pronounce certain words is quite different from how Nigerians pronounce certain words, even though we sound very alike. I'm talking about voiceover artists in West Africa. So there's a lot of work for us to do as Africans. We need to represent our voices by doing voiceovers that are relatable to our people, and then it makes more sense for others to identify the different voices in Africa. Now, speaking about different voices in Africa, let's move on to North Africa now. Oftentimes, it's my own thoughts, though it's not fact, but oftentimes I feel like when we talk Africa, we are alluding more to the skin, to the color of the skin. We're talking about the melanin, and we oftentimes forget that our North African brothers don't exactly share in that typical description, right? So when we're talking about Africa, of course, we're talking Egypt, we're talking Tunisia, we're talking Algeria, and we need to have that conversation. So we're talking Africa Voiceover Day, Voices of Africa. Let's talk about the voices in North Africa. And of course, we've got Nadim Khalid here, the founder of Evolution. And Nadim, what would you say is the significance of Africa Voiceover Day in North Africa for unification and awareness of, that difference and, different cultures and languages and voices that we have in Africa? How significant is this day to acknowledge such? Nadim, you're muted. Oh, you need to unmute. Nadim, can you hear me?
The host needs to unmute me.
Finally.
But, well, first of all, allow me to tell you, like, dude, you put things so like royal. It feels like what I'm going to say is not as important as what you just introduced. But, yeah, but thank you so much for this question is really amazing, and it honestly just highlighted something in my brain. When you talk about Africa, Africa is really huge. Africa has so much diversity, so many cultures, so many languages. Even in West Africa, I've learned from my friend Emeka, like, and we've talked about this. There's hundreds of languages, like it's impossible to know them all. And it, in my opinion, like one of the things we don't have in Africa, like I don't know, the States or Europe, is that we know what languages and what areas speak what languages and how do they sound like. I'm gonna be very honest, and it comes from a place of ignorance, and I admit it. I honestly do not know what languages are happening in West Africa or South Africa or in Middle Africa. That's out of my ignorance. But on a day like this, I'd honestly like to know what the names of the languages are, what cultures are they related to. How can I actually have an ear for African voices if I'm going to be a talent agency that's going to bring work and create opportunities for Africa? I at least need to know that. And I don't know, maybe Voice Over Africa Day needs to be a reminder that you also in West Africa need to learn more about, I don't know, the Northern African region and so on. So there's just so much to learn for us in Africa, and yeah, like that's really something very interesting that I'm going to start working on today, and hopefully everybody here is going to help me do that. And they themselves, if you have any questions or maybe I don't know, some form of game that we could come up to play that would let us learn more about each other's cultures, languages, etc. I really think that would be beneficial for all of us and will help us have a stronger identity when we, I don't know, do voiceover business exchanges with, I don't know, Europe and the States and everywhere else. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Answer, but
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's beautiful because that also brings us to the consciousness that a lot of us are ignorant about the languages that exists and the accents that exist. Because if you look at Nigeria, there are several languages. So the languages also affects our accents. So the way someone from the western part of Nigeria would speak is different from the way someone from the northern part of Africa, Nigeria, pardon, will speak. So to try to give us a bit of knowledge, I feel like it's a collective work that we can all do. So if your hands are not busy, you can type into the chat box your language or your tribe and your location. So it's, for instance, I am Yoruba, right? And that's the language that I speak. And then I am Nigerian. So I'd say my name, Tolukolade Yoruba Nigerian. Okay, so we're just trying to like do a bit of exercise here to sort of help us understand or know more of the languages that we have, plus the accents that we have in Africa, and the more the merrier, right? Keep it going. I see some people already doing that. Bidemi Adedire says Yagba, Kogi State, Nigeria. Interesting. We've got Abdul Lukindo say, I'm a native Swahili speaker from Tanzania. Beautiful, beautiful. Sam is Yoruba from Nigeria. John is Igbo from Nigeria. We've got Yoruba. We've got Kiswahili from Kenya. This is Lucy. Amazing. Okay. I'll leave you guys to educate yourself as people are dropping these things in the chat box while I go to the next speaker. And I am coming back to Nigeria. I want to speak to the brand master, Mr. Sheun Shobo. Now, Mr. Sheun Shobo, I know that you have been with us for so long. You've also been in the US for quite a while, and you're able to tap into the reality of voiceovers from both spaces. Let's just call it the global space. So I want to ask you, what opportunities exist for Africans in this sector, and how does Africa Voiceover Day open leeways to accessing these opportunities in the global space? Oh, you're muted. Okay. I don't know if I would be the one to.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, I can.
I was feeling like I was deaf and dumb because I couldn't mute myself. Sorry. So the opportunities are a lot, really. The opportunities are a lot. One of the things for me is once I want to get into an industry or I want to play in a particular space, one of the things I look at is the value, like the value of the markets, and what market share, I'm interested in playing with, in that space. And one of the things that I did this sojourn in branding and PR for a long time while I was still doing voiceovers. And one day I just, decided to just go all out in terms of research about the voiceover industry, right? I was working with one of my guys who was also a very great guy with data and the rest of that. And my eyes were like, what is going on here? Like, this is untapped market. Like, everybody's just, like, people are just looking and just playing around this space. They're just dancing around it. This is a lot, right? So the value, this industry is billions of dollars, billions, like billions of dollars. And, we don't even have enough people to share it, the billions, And in Africa, of course, we're still working on getting more data and, just working with more data. So the value of the industry, first of all, is something that we should look at, especially if you want to play in this industry. Of course, you also have to have your own personal strategy of what you want to do and how you want to take over, in that side of the market. Now, the opportunities, how does the African Voiceover Day translate this, as opportunities in the global space? Number one, education, right? Like Emeka was saying, the the global space needs some education about what Africa is all about, right? The different tribes of Africa, the different accents, different things that are happening in Africa, right? So it helps with education, right? There's also investment opportunities, really, because the industry needs a lot of investment, right? In terms of infrastructure, right? For example, when I see I called it out. I'd always said it years before. I mean, some people can bear me witness here. Said years before that very soon Disney is going to start telling our stories. Marvel will come, they'll tell our stories, and it's happening now, right? It's great to see, right? We also need to start getting investors into this market. Whether it's South Africa, Nigeria, West Africa, North Africa. So investment opportunities, education, investment opportunities, and also, it just also gives the global market more diverse opportunities, right? Because this is part of diversity, right? And when you have like 6 to 8 or 9 to 10 languages where you can still play with, right? It just opens the diversity pool. It makes it larger, makes it bigger. So the opportunities are a lot. They're enormous, right? We can't exhaust it in this in this today, right? We can't exhaust it. They're just a lot. But the truth is, there's so much to gain, and I would like to implore everybody here, try to, as much as possible, volunteer in your little way for the Africa Voiceover Day. It's going to be May 5th every year. So there's so much to do. There's so much to, we need to make noise. And we're making noise, actually. We started and we're going to continue making that noise, right? Till May 5th every year.
Beautiful. And speaking about making noise about it, what you're saying just bringing an idea in my head that why not voiceover artists from different countries do a voiceover in their language about Africa Voiceover Day.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing because I had to put up my camera at some point. There's somebody that just sent me a message on LinkedIn now. The person is actually Caucasian and he lives in America, and told me, listen, I need what's it called? The African Voiceover Day logo. I want to do a post on it, right? This is an American person. So you just see that we're doing something and it's actually going out there. People are hearing, people are seeing, people are hearing, so there's a lot of work to be done. And this is opening us up to the world, basically.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I think we should take responsibility as Africans right now. It's not just about talking about it, but then representing your language, your voice, your culture, and your accent. So please, I would love that if after this event, you can create a voiceover, you can even have your face on it. It could be a video, right? Speaking about Africa Voiceover Day, and tag Africa Voiceover Day on Instagram, where on Instagram at Africa Voiceover Day _official, and we would repost it. You can add your name, your accent or your language and your country. So this would be part of we educating the world about the different voices in Africa. We're also on YouTube right now. So in case you have someone who isn't able to join the Zoom meeting, let them know that they can find us on YouTube. We're streaming live via the voiceover workshop and media YouTube channel. And there are people dropping comments there. So just let me read one or two people representing their accent and their languages and their countries. We've got Petite Priska here saying that she's half Igbo and Yoruba. She's in Mina, Nigeria. That's interesting. You're representing Nigeria from the north, the west, and the south. We have a lot of Nigerians here, but then this is Caroline Kikuyu. She's Swahili from Kenya. That's the language she's representing. Beautiful. Looking for, okay, this is Valerie. She says Luo, Kenya. Now, I don't know if Luo is a language, but it seems to me like so. Jennifer, do you want to clarify that for me?
Yes, it is a language, actually. I think Barack Obama is even originally Luo, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
so it's a tribe, yes. Yeah, the Luo people, yeah.
We have 42.
Yeah.
43 or 44, but officially 42. Luo, Kikuyu, those are two of the bigger ones.
Oh, interesting. I'm learning. I'm enjoying this. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Jennifer. Leila says Tonga, and she's from Zambia. Interesting. I'm going to go through all of this again after this meeting to learn as much as I can. So it's not just Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Swahili that I know. Now I know Luo. All right, let's get back to the conversation. I hope you all are enjoying this. Let's talk about still talking about Voices of Africa. I want to engage Remy Olutimai, who is West Africa's first voice acting director for animation, an award-winning voiceover artist as well, and the founder of Voice Acting Africa, a community for voice actors across Africa. Remy, as a voice acting director, I know that you have engaged with various voices in the course of your career over the decades, and you've seen firsthand why it is important for us to understand the accents we're working with or the voices we're working with. So from your own standpoint as a voice director, speak to us as voice actors. What mindsets should we as Africans have towards our own languages, especially as regarding voiceover, voice acting?
Okay. That's a lovely question, actually. I'll start with this. Please understand that your language is what shaped you, not English. The people around you, how they spoke, the cultures, that is what shaped you. And if you decide for some reason to de-emphasize where you come from and push English, you will sound fake, you won't sound authentic, you won't sound believable. In fact, your delivery will be off. That's one. Two, this is not even speak from personal experiences, just some noted personal experiences. All right, so the Iwaju Disney series that came out in February. Okay, so I'm on the cast, and while working on it, there was scenes where we had to play background characters, people just in the background, back on Lagos, and they we were intelligent. Look, we were intelligent enough to realize that there are more languages than Yoruba spoken in Lagos. So in the background, if you listen carefully enough, you will hear Hausa, you will hear some Igbo, you hear some Yoruba, you hear some different languages, which if you walk through Lagos, you know that, yeah, this is the experience. Now, I like to make another very important point, which is that you cannot be more American than the Americans. You cannot be more British than the British. But the thing that you can do is to be more of yourself, which is to reflect the influences on how you speak. As I speak with you right now, I am making an effort not to speak in received pronunciation too heavily. Okay, that's how I was raised. But when I go into voice acting and voiceover, I became aware that people will recognize what they can relate with. There's no need for me to create distance so I can seem special or catch attention. No. So I've had to voice directed the language dubs for an Oddman animated series. And they asked specifically for Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, and Nigerian English. I didn't cast people who were English first, then this other language. No, please, if you need to, you need to be from your culture to be able to do it well, to sound believable. People don't need to understand the language you're speaking, but that humanity is, it cuts across in so many ways. I'll give 3 examples, and I'm confident that Chilu will be able to relate, and I'm hoping also Jennifer and perhaps Nadine. Nigeria, we have the Rashida, why are you laughing? I can see you laughing. But anyway, you understand what I'm coming from. No, don't be shy. In South Africa, they've got the winner. Winner. Now, you don't need to know what winner means, but you know what winner means. I say, see them. It's these little things that sprinkle humanity into what you're doing. It's not leave the not so human to the AI. Don't worry about that one. That's its own struggle. Don't pick that struggle. Take the struggle of being able to translate the beauty and humanity of the cultures that you were raised in as well as you can, to speak clearly and be understood. And the rest will happen by itself. Magnificently, I must add. Magnificently. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. Thank you, Remy. That was a very, very apt learning experience in just a few minutes. Uh, I don't know what to say, but then I feel more proud of my language and my accent. Thank you very much, Remy, for that nice answer. All right, let's get the ball rolling quickly. I would like to have another Nigerian speak to, voiceovers in Africa. Now we're talking about Voices of Africa, and I want to have King E, uh, the founder of Voiceover Workshop and Media, and the founder and convener of the Voiceover Conference. So, Kingi, how would you advise that we invest, in bringing out our indigenous languages in voiceover? Because I know you're a huge investor in voiceover and you have the Voiceover Conference happening for you. I think that's a platform. So, how best do you think, also in our own little corners, if we don't have such platforms like you have, how can we, add to the education and to the awareness of our voices? Kingi, you're muted.
Yeah, can you hear me? Aha.
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you for that question. I think it's one that we should all answer. But before I respond to it, I would like to go a step backward, just one step, right? Because we're talking about investing. I mean, investment is not just monetary now. Most of the time when we talk about investing, we think money, right? It could be your time, it could be your resources, right? And of course, your money, right? But you do not invest in something that, one, you do not love or you are not proud of, right? You also cannot invest into something that you're not interested in. So I think if we must go forward into investing into our indigenous languages, we must go backwards to ask ourselves these questions and answer them. Right. Reason I said that is because most of us, even in Nigeria, even though we have so many languages, we do not like to speak our languages. We think that we are inferior, right? We think that the English is superior to what we have. Okay. And because of that, it will be difficult for us to invest into it until we change that mindset that we have about ourselves. And I'm happy that a couple of us have talked about, the need to be proud of what we have and all of that and our voices. But in investment, bringing it in, I think one of the first things, I think Shobo mentioned something around that, is investing into research. All right. If we do not invest in Nigeria, most of us, we don't know how many languages we have. We know that we have 32 states and all that, right? That's the most that some people know. But then there are different languages. And if we must tell our stories, right? If we say we want to showcase our voices to the world, we must know what we have. You can only sell what you know or what you know that you have. If I have a pair of, shoes, that is what I have. I know the amount that I have, how many people I'm selling to. So that's the first thing I think we should do. Investing into research in Nigeria, in South Africa. How many languages do we have? What can we sell? Because at the end of the day, after all said and done, right, we want to sell. It's not that we just love voiceover, we're doing it. We want to either sell or be recognized. So we must be willing to invest into, voiceover, and we have to also try as much as we can to know these languages, and investing in research would help us know what we have, and then of course, selling it. And we also have to start investing into learning, right? The truth is that some of our parents didn't teach us how to speak our languages, but now we are adults, we are grown-ups. And if we do well to become proud of what we have and find out what is possible, we need to now start learning. If you need to, learn from, I speak a bit of Hausa, I understand a bit of Yoruba, I speak my language pretty well. But you realize that one thing about languages is when you stop speaking it for a very long time, especially when you are not an indigenous speaker, you tend to forget. All right. So we must, as much as possible, be willing to start investing into learning. If you have to pay to learn it, then pay, because a lot of voiceover artists don't like paying money, right? I mean, look at this. This is a free event. It is free, right? We are all here. We are excited. Put a fee on this particular event. Everybody's shouting deep stuff. It's insightful. This is great. I'm excited. Put an amount, and then you see how many people will show up. It's not as if they don't have that money, but they would rather buy data, all right? So we have to try as much as we can to start investing into learning, into, you know, knowing what we have, knowing our stuff, because that's the only way you can proudly sell it. That's the only way you can boldly come out and, you know, say, I have this product, I have this thing, it is unique, you should buy it. There's a lot to this conversation, right? We cannot, there's the part of promoting what we have, there's a part of collaboration. It's a long list, but I don't think we have the time, right? But that's what I would say regarding that.
Thank you so much, King E. I know you to be a very huge investor in voiceover in Africa. Like, for instance, we're having the voiceover conference, the 5th edition, happening this year. And guess what, guys? It's free. So it takes a lot of investment to do that. But, you know, you can also support people that are investing. That's another way to be a part of this movement. Okay. So, and one more thing I'd like to mention, it'll be so lovely to see Voiceover Workshop and the Voiceover Academy, which are like, you know, two of the foremost voiceover institutions in Africa, teaching voiceovers, to also have indigenous languages, you know, in the curriculum. How about that? I hope we'll see that real soon. Okay, so let's move on. Let's have the elder in the building. We're talking about Mr. Elder Chilulemba. Elder Chilulemba likes to look humble.
Chilu, the name is moving. The name is moving, Mr. Chilu, Elder Chilu. The name is moving.
So very soon we'll have legend.
You know who started calling me elder?
That
it
was
Emmanuel. It was King E who started calling me elder, and it stuck.
Yeah. All right. So we have Elder Chilu, and it's beautiful to when I look at your career, I'm very inspired, and I'm sure a lot of people too are inspired. You know, I remember posting the promo video for the event on my WhatsApp status, and I mean, this guy doesn't know you at all, but the guy just came into my DM and he said, "Is that not the voice for?" I hear that voice on GoTV, DSTV. I said, "Yeah, you're right. That's the voice." You know, so that shows, or that's a testament to how far, you know, you've come in this industry. And not just that, I also like the fact that you've operated across different countries. You know, your voiceover is so relevant to different countries. That means that I can say that in the continent, or you are intercontinental when we're talking about voiceover. So I'd like you to speak to this reality, you know, of having your voiceover cross different boundaries, different countries. Could you speak on the benefits of intercontinental collaboration to strengthen the industry? And I'm talking collaboration also because I know that you've been speakers in different panels, you know, like the voiceover conference. I have gotten the opportunity to be trained by you via the voiceover workshop as well. So you're one of those that have gone across countries. So what's the benefit of that effort to the voiceover industry?
First, I want to start by saluting you, man, because with your podcast and all these things you're doing, I think you bring a level of excellence to the voiceover game. So, you know, first of all, salute to you. And then also, additionally, you know, King E, Emeka, who've also been doing something. Something crossed my mind as we've been speaking, in that I think shortly after COVID, these things have started coming together. So we had the conferences, the workshops by the Voiceover Workshop, what Emeka was doing or is doing with his conference, and then APVA with the awards, or APVA with their awards, your podcast. Everything just starts pointing towards a unification of sorts, which is, I think, testament to how this is a culmination of all these things. There's a vibe in the air. There's something happening which wants us to tie together, you know, thread thread our different efforts and experiences. So I'm very happy about that. Regarding me and the continental thing, it's interesting because it was a deliberate ploy by my agent about 20 years ago. I used to be with an agent called Intertalent. And when DSTV started opening up to the rest of the continent, there was a push for a very neutral accent which can cut across the various countries. And they put me forward for those opportunities. So I know it's a bit counterintuitive based on some of the remarks from earlier, but I have been that, guy that goes across continents with the message that's sponsored by the brand. Whereas things are changing now. From what I'm seeing, the trend is that there's a need for localization that's happening more. So guys who were doing what I was doing, some years ago, that thing I think is going to be a thing of the past, because if they're looking for a promo for a DSTV property that needs to land specifically in one region, they've got access to the artists in there. They've got studios which are able to produce world-class content from there. So that whole thing of one message cutting across the continent, some of us will still be able to benefit from that. But I think the move is towards localization. And I think that's one of the major things that are happening. So I'm excited because what ends up happening when we start uniting in this way is that if I'm approached and somebody says, we need a voice in East Africa, I can point them to Jennifer, because if it's not a Jennifer job, she's also with Valk, and through her network they can make something happen. Nigeria, same thing, and so I think there's a healthy move which happens when people network in the way that we're doing right now. I was in LA in December, so about 5 months ago, and I was chopping it up, as they say, with Mr. Shobo. And we had a good time just chatting about these things. It was a healthy discussion, and I'm sure if that discussion were to happen at King E's hybrid conference at some point, there's so much information exchange that we can learn, have and learn from each other. Not only in terms of linguistics, but also how our different industries are set up. The South African industry is set up differently from the Nigerian, industry, from the Zambian industry, etc. So I'm very appreciative of all these things that are happening, and Africa Voiceover Day can only go forward in solidifying, what's already started. So yeah, I'm excited.
Wow, Elder Chilu, thank you so much for that insight and the background to how this, intercontinental voiceover move started. And now the need for localization is creating more opportunities for voiceover artists across the continent. So I'm really happy to hear that. Wow, it's been over an hour of us discussing Voices of Africa in today's Africa Voiceover Day, this year's edition, which is the first edition, the first of its kind in the history of voiceover in this continent, where we all came together to say, hey, let's have a day where we celebrate voiceovers in this continent, celebrate ourselves, the incredible work we're doing, and let the world know what we're doing. Don't forget to create a voiceover with your indigenous language, tag us so that we can repost, share, and educate the world about voiceover, right? You can also tell somebody that this event is happening. And guess what? You can also watch this event after it's been done, because it's recorded. So it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. You'll find it at the Africa Voiceover Day YouTube channel. We will let you know when that is ready. Thank you for being a part of this event. Now, we're not ending here. We still have another series of quick questions that will go around. And talking about questions, I remember that while you were filling the forms to register for this event, we asked you if you had questions to ask. So right now, it will be a good time for us to look into some of these questions and give answers to them, right? Going via the chat box, I see a couple of questions there too. So I see a very interesting one that I'd like us to start with. And any of our guests, speakers, can answer this question. This is coming from Wakio Mzenge. She says, but who is an African voiceover artist in the first place? One born in Africa? One living and working in Africa despite of race? African living outside of the continent? I think this is a very interesting question, and I don't know would love to answer. Elder Chilu, King E, Jennifer, Mr. Showbo.
I can try.
Yeah.
Leslie, please go
Yeah,
on.
I think that's like it's such an interesting question, but it's broader than that, because there is always that question of like who is African, like what makes you African, because of our diversity, is it like you mentioned before, you said is it the color of your skin, is it your melanin in your skin, is it the languages that you speak, is it the fact that you're born here, is it the fact that you're of heritage, and we've had that question being asked. I think it was Thabo Mbeki who actually did that speech, and also Kwame Nkrumah also had a speech about that, about being African because it's you're born of it and it's who you are. It resides within you. I'm getting the quotes mixed up, but it's that kind of thing, and as Africans, we should also try not to define and box ourselves in to define what the definition of African is, because we're so diverse. For me, we're so diverse. And if the Africans who are living in the diaspora, for example, they also can't be ignored from the conversation. Do you see what I mean? So I think that as an African, like, our beauty is in our culture and our languages and in our diversity. But the thing that makes us African is that spirit that we carry. We carry that same thing. You just know, like, you know that But an African, in terms of the definition of an African voice, that is very difficult because we're so diverse, because there's so many languages. For example, what was mentioned in Nigeria. I mean, in South Africa, there's 11 official languages. So who's more South African than the other, that kind of thing. Because of the different languages and all, I think that it's very hard to put in a box what an African voice is, but within the different voices in Africa, we all represent a different market. And that should be okay. That should be okay for us to be able to communicate effectively.
Thank you so much. Alluding to the spirit of Africa, that it's one of those things that makes us, identify to be African voiceover artists. I see more hands, and I think I'll start with Chukwemeka before we go to Remy.
Hi, thank you. I'll respond to, sorry, my mic. All right. I choose to respond to the question from two perspectives. One will be from the commercial perspective, which is I'm a casting director, so I'll come from that perspective. Now, if you can do an African accent well enough, if you can do an African accent, even if you're American, you can do an African accent and you can win it. Possibly, if you're an American, you can win an audition as an African talent. You are an African talent. You will win, you will get a job and get paid as an African talent. So you can pass for an African talent. Now, that's from the commercial perspective. That's from the creative perspective. So it don't matter what region. If we have over 2,000 languages in Africa, everyone who speaks that language, who is a voice actor, is an African talent. None is more of an African talent than the other. Then the other thing, I'll look at it from the geography. If you're born and you live in Africa, you're an African. If you're born in Africa, you're an African talent. Now, we also should know that voice acting is, for want of a better word, it's a job. If you can't do the job, you are not. you're not in that field. If you can't sing, you can't be a musician. If you can't do voice acting, you can be a voice actor. So the fact that you're born in Africa, but you can't act, you can't use your voice, then you may not pass as a voice actor. But then, generally speaking, born in Africa automatically makes you an African voice talent.
Two ways to answer that. Born in Africa, and also if you can really do the African accent. Interesting. Thank you so much, Emeka, for that answer. Now let's have Remy speak to that in a minute. Remy, kindly unmute.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi. All right. So I'm going to, forgive me, Tolu, you know that I'm an academic when it comes to these sort of things. So I'll explain it. I'll explain it this way. My understanding of what an African means is that African culture has influenced you. You're being immersed in it. And this extends to, in my opinion, this extends to the places like Jamaica, the West Indies, Jamaicans, Haitians, things like that. I'll explain my reasoning this way. We know the hiss, right? Whether you're aware of it or not, that itself is a cultural point for Africans. We know when somebody hisses, you know how it will enter you. You know how you will respond to it. There's so much African culture that had gone through so many things over the centuries. You know, people who feel removed because of time. But the stories of Anansi that are being shared with children in Ghana right now are being shared with Jamaican children. I've heard rumors of 17th century Igbo being spoken in the mountains, in the hinterlands of Haiti, but with a French accent. If you can carry the African story, when I say African story, I'm not speaking about something someone wrote down. I'm talking about, does the African story continue in you when you speak? There are lines that you would give an African, and we would know, yes, this is an African. If you give it to somebody from the Czech Republic, he cannot recognize with the reasoning behind it. He can't recognize with logic behind it. Possibly Russian, possibly Ukrainian. But for the bulk of the rest of the world, if you can't buy into it, your delivery will be weak. Your delivery would not be committed. Your delivery will be inauthentic. It will sound like a lie. And what we deal with is the sound of truth in what we do. Now, we do have to be strict because of the voiceover thing, in that can you speak in such a way that people from a particular part of Africa, a particular country in Africa, a particular group in Africa can recognize with, they don't have to recognize you, but they can recognize with what you're saying, how you're saying it, right? That itself is a functional foundation of what an African voice over is, what an African voice actor is. But for the other nuanced, academic, intellectual, my head is working sort of thing. Yeah, we can go into those. Rashida, I love making Rashida laugh. Yeah, but that's my opinion about that.
Thank you so much, Remy. I mean, you said a lot that is quite it's what I'll call food for thought, right? And that is also taking me to this point where I feel like there's a need for us to start taking our craft very academical. Like, can we start writing books, academic studies, research into voiceovers? Just a few weeks ago, I was very impressed by a young lady who I met in Lagos at the Avoir's Voice Fest. And she said she wrote a research project work on voiceover. It was about digitalization of voiceover and development of voiceover in Nigeria. And I was so impressed about that. She had to do a lot of research, reaching out. So I feel like we need to start embracing these aspects of our work, because if our industry is going to grow, it will come from the business side, from the academic side, from the legal side, and so much more. All right. So thank you so much for bringing your academic perspective to this, Remy. I see King E's hand up, and I'd love you to respond to that, King E.
All right, thank you so much. I just feel to add something to what everybody has said, right? There are certain things you must look out for in identifying an African voiceover artist. And the first one I would say is the voice. Okay, there's a distinction between an African voice and a Western voice. You should find that. All right. The second thing is the texture of the voice. There is a way the African voice sounds. There's the energy and the power and the, the flange that we have. All right. You will not hear it if you're not African, except you have to learn to sound that way. Okay. To sound that way. It's just what it is. The next thing is the content or the story. The content or the story. Our tradition, our way of life reflects in our stories, in our content, in how we put them out. All right. But of course, it is already established that you are a voiceover artist. Now, you now have to look out for these elements or these things to finally conclude that, oh, this person, na African. You understand? So if you can look out for those things, I think with that, right, you can easily identify who is, I mean, because you can't say it's a geographical location that will make you an African, because, I mean, I can be in America and I'm still in Africa. I can be in Nigeria. I can be anywhere, right? But if you look out for these elements or these things, they will help you understand a bit of who a voiceover, an African voiceover artist is. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, King E. That really does help. And I want to appreciate our speakers as well, because I can see in the chat section, answers are being given to questions. So because of course we can't have all of the questions, said here and discussed because of our time. So please pardon us. But then you can drop your questions to the chat box, and I am very sure some of our speakers will be able to respond to that. I see Jennifer doing that already. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And Elder Chilu mentioned something in the chat. I'm trying to find that particular comment now. Yes, he said one of the biggest voice artists right now does the movie trailer voices for most Hollywood movies, Marvels, etc. is Gabi Kunda. He's American, but his parents are from the DRC, Viva Africa. Check him out online. Yes, I think he's like the new voice for trailers right now. And that's so beautiful to know. I didn't know it was, yeah, I think I knew that. But anyways, thank you for sharing that, Chilu, Elder Chilu. Okay, yes, someone wants to say something.
Yes.
Please go on. Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to also say something, because one of the other guests had mentioned it, and it sparked an idea in my mind or thought. Also being a voice artist or voice actor, it's actually a job. Before I got into voice artists and voiceover and all of that, I studied theater at drama school, and as an actor, you learn how to play different roles, different characters. You're able to teach yourself. So I think because quite a few people are wondering that if I don't speak this language purely, if I don't do that, how can I be involved in it? Because unfortunately, we do have a lot of people who perhaps did not grow up in their home country. They didn't grow up in their home country. They moved about. If you use South Africa, for example, if somebody speaks KZN Zulu, KwaZulu Natal Zulu, versus if you're in Joburg, it's very different. Do you know what I mean? So I think that what we need to remember as voiceover artists and actors is that we're just that. We're actors. You can actually invest in training and learning things and learning about the roles that you can play. If you say, for example, I have a wide Pan-African experience because of friends and staying in different countries and all of that, which is why they've been voices that I've done specifically for Nigeria that no one will ever know. I've sat in rooms with people and they've not noticed my voice because I've had to be able to transform my voice. I've done voices for Uganda, for Pearl Magic in Uganda. I was in Uganda with my family, my aunts. They did not know it was me. I've done voices also, obviously in South Africa. I've done voices in different places, even in Ghana, all around. But I always, every time I get a voice or a script, I kind of I spend my time training myself, and I'm like, how can I, embody this? Who's this character? Who are they? And I try my best to learn them, to learn and to be able to engage in it because I have an understanding of some of those different cultures. So I think we really shouldn't, be so distraught with the fact that, unfortunately, because of the way that history has gone, that we might not be the purest speaker of Igbo or the purest speaker of Amharic or whatever the case. Well, I mean, the Ethiopians are different because they never experienced that. But we might not be the purest speaker of that, of our initial languages. But you can actually access and you can learn. You can study it. You can learn it like a skill. Like it's an actual job. If you want to be able to speak, to do voiceovers in Yoruba, if you want to be able to do voiceover, to speak to different countries, and you're actually an actor or a voice actor or voice artist, you should be able to train yourself to learn. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that needs to happen. People need to be able to understand that, you know, it's outside of having a great voice or having a distinctive voice. It's about being able to adapt and to become a chameleon and to engulf yourself in the role that you're playing. So people shouldn't get too, you know, shaken up about that. But I do think we should be learning our languages and our cultures. And if you've got friends from around the continent, like that's been one of the ways, and staying in different parts of the continent, it's been one of the ways that I've been able to pick up other accents. That when I'm in different countries, people will say with their chest that I'm from that country. They'll say it with their chest. But meanwhile, it's an acting skill that I have, and it's something that I try to teach myself, you know. So so people should be able to do that. You know, if you're in certain countries, like what I think Remy was saying about the different words that might be used and all of those different expressions or that kind of thing, you can listen out to the way people do that in different countries and just be like, if I add this, I'm going to sound a bit more this. If I add this, like if I go Bambi, people are going to be, this one's Ugandan. Do you understand what I mean? So it's about also trying to do that. And as voice artists and as voice actors, you know, the way we can research the craft and the way we can kind of enrich ourselves is by getting engulfed in different African cultures and languages and all of that, and listening, and also trying our best to just teach ourselves. We have to be willing to teach ourselves and to invest in it, and remember that it is actually like a job.
Wow, thank you so much. You kind of like fleshed it up. Thank you so much, Leslie, for that answer that you've given. Well, it's been a fantastic evening here in Africa, talking about Africa Voiceover Day, the first of its kind, Voices of Africa. We've got all our guests speaking, and we've got questions from people. They're being answered right now in the chat box, and the ones that we're discussing right now. Of course, we could stay here all day, talk about voices in Africa, but then we have to, you know, look at the time and start bringing this to a close. So I want to say thank you to everybody that's spoken so far. One of the questions that I should also, you know, touch on before we move forward, because of our time, I'll just touch on this very briefly. It's a prevalent question on the chat, and that's how people can get into voiceover. I think that's a very important question, because if you don't see it, or if you don't understand that voiceover, like Leslie was saying, is a craft, is a job, you might just think it's something that has to do with picking up your recording device and recording something, and so you now claim I'm a voiceover artist. Rather, it's a profession. It's something that we pay attention to. You train, you learn. You heard Remy talking about acting school, and a couple of our speakers have, you know, mentioned something in that light before. So you need to learn the art, the crafts, the business of voiceover, because if you call it a profession, that means you also you look forward to earning some income from it as well. So there's a business side of it. There is the technical side of it. There's a lot to learn. And that's why we have voiceover institutions. I know in South Africa, you have the South Africa Voiceover Academy. In Nigeria, you have Voiceover Workshop, Voiceover Academy, and a lot of voiceover institutions there. I'm sure in Egypt and different parts of Africa, you'd have. So I would encourage anyone seeking to become a voice actor to, first of all, take the approach of learning. You can learn via resources that you have online, but I'll advise that you learn with an institution, or if you have a coach, you know, someone that can mentor you. These are avenues of which you could learn. And like I said earlier, we should start writing, and there are podcasts, right? I have a podcast on voiceover and a lot of that. I mean, Elder Chilu also has a voiceover podcast, by the way. And there are a couple of them like that in Africa and also outside the country. So there are avenues for you to learn. There are books. Mr. Shobo has a book about voiceover. A colleague of mine also wrote a book recently about voiceover. That's Voiceover for Beginners. So invest, learn, and you see yourself becoming a voiceover artist, hopefully in a matter of maybe months. All right. So let's start bringing this to a wrap. And I have just one question for each of our speakers here who have done fantastic so far in today's event. Let me start with Bidemi Adedire. She is the founder of the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. She likes to be behind the scenes, so you've not been hearing from us so much lately. But Bidemi, come out from the coven. We'd like to we'd like to see your face and hear you speak to us. So I'd like to get your own advice for voiceover artists in the continent as we are celebrating Africa Voiceover Day. And this is going to be like parting words for all of our speakers, right? So your advice for voiceover artists, and also talk about, what you look forward to moving forward with Africa Voiceover Day. And I'd like you to also talk about your institution, which is the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. What should we be looking forward to coming soon? All right, Bidemi.
Hi, Tolu. You asked a number of questions at once, but you said advice. First of all, I'm not a voiceover artist. I just love and truly believe that we are the stars of this movement, and we do help in shifting the current narrative about African culture, our stories, our languages, and what we represent. But in terms of advice, I would say when you're doing the good work, it is important that you know how to communicate that work. So have great digital footprint, be loud and proud about the things you've done, what you've achieved, and build a portfolio with that. So you are able to connect with more people, you are able to find more opportunities. I also would say networking is important. I'm already seeing people sharing contacts and information right here in the group chat. This is because a day like this came to be. But beyond that, can you be intentional with how you network? There are institutions and academies that exist, there are communities that exist. Go join these communities. All of the questions you have will be answered, and you definitely find someone who is probably going through what you're going, or has gone through what you've gone through, and can tell you one or two things. So that is on advice. Concerning APVA, APVA means the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists, but there are different expressions of APVA. At the moment, it exists as a community. So we do have our community as well. It's not just for voice artists, it's also for podcasters and spoken word artists. And then the other expression is the African Podcast and Voice Awards. We've had, it started in 2022, and we'll be having the third edition this year. In fact, nominations are open at the moment, so you can start nominating yourselves for the awards. Let's see who becomes the Voice Artist of the Year. This is also another avenue to showcase, Africa's excellence. And I am a strong advocate of us documenting our stories, and this is one of the ways we can do that. So the awards are open, everyone. We are doing this to celebrate the African voices. We are doing this to let the world know that we here exist. We have different voices. We are 54 countries, guys, and people need to see that. So I hope I've answered all your questions. Is there anything else?
Yeah, if you also want to talk about Africa Voiceover Day, what you look forward to in the future.
Absolutely. I am happy this day is here, and it is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So May 5th, guys, every year, there are lots of activities you can do. This is just the launch event. The conversation can continue. You can plan conferences, you can plan events, you can host sessions in the lead up to AVD 2025. So happy Africa Voiceover Day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Bidemi. I look forward to Africa Voiceover Day 2025. I look forward to the events that will be organized by different institutions. And shout out to the Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists for all that you've been doing. All right. I should also remind you all that we have a website for Africa Voiceover Day. That's africavoiceoverday.com. So all of the information you need about the event and how you can be a part of it this year and even next year, you can find all of that on the website. Let me move to King E, the king of voiceovers, the founder of
Hello.
Voiceover Workshop and Media. Yes, King E, it's it's your
Yeah,
turn to speak about
I mean,
your expectations and
yeah,
tell us about
expectations.
the
I
conference
think
too.
this is of course this is beautiful. This is something that we have started well, so well, right? It simply says that the sky is the beginning. This is big, and I'm super happy because I see growth, I see the future, and it's exciting to see. I mean, for those who have been around for some time in Nigeria, you know we've been talking about it a lot. Yobo, you know now. Emeka, you know these things, right? And the truth is that these things happening is exciting to see, and it gives us hope, you know, that the future is bigger and better, even for voiceover artists. So it's what I would like to say is you have to be willing to dare. Sometimes you just believe enough to move, right? And like we say, if you no sell your markets, nobody go sell them. Of course, this is African voice about this. So some pigeon is fine, right? If you no sell your markets, nobody go help you sell them. All right.
That's
You have to be able to sell what you have, right? And the prayer should always be that God, let this thing work. God, let this thing work. You know why? Even if people do not align with what you're doing and they do not believe in what you're doing, if it becomes successful, everyone will align. So your prayer should be, God, help me, all right, that this thing works. Thank you so much. It's been a delight. The voiceover conference is coming. We decided that from now henceforth, the voiceover conference will be absolutely free. It took us some time. First 2 years free, 2 years was ticketed, but the impact for me was not there for the 2 years that was paid. I know that sometimes it's like, you're not in business, you are a business guy. I understand. But the truth is that I usually think that my time is ticking in this world. And before I leave as a voiceover artist, there has to be some level of impact. And the kind of speed that we want the growth to happen when we put tickets, there's already a limitation. And because of that, we decided to take it off. God will raise men to make it happen. So if it is how to get it done, it will be done. All right. So we are here to change the narrative. We're here to give back. We want to expose the voiceover industry enough that the future generation will have a soft landing spot. All right. We know how we started. It was a hustle. It was struggle for most of us. But let's leave something that will be a bit soft for the coming generation. And I think that that's the only way to pass the baton a bit more, a bit better than what we got. All right, thank you so much. I have to leave now because there's a meeting for the voiceover conference with the heads of departments and all that, and I am absent. So thank you so much. It's been a delight, and it's good to see everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, King E, Mr. Emmanuel Afemike. It's a pleasure having you here. Very, very, very daring human when it comes to voiceover. He has done a lot and he keeps doing. For those asking, is the founder of the Voiceover Workshop and Media. I'm sure if you check into the chat, you'll see how you can be a part or connect with the Voiceover Workshop and Media. Now let's turn the table to another visionary in the voiceover space from Nigeria as well. Is the founder of the Voiceover Academy and the Voiceover Bank. I'm talking about Mr. Sheun Shobo, the brand master. Mr. Shobo, the mic is yours. Give advice to the, thousands of surging voice talents in Africa, and tell us what you look forward to in coming AVD. That's the hashtag now, hashtag AVD, African Voiceover Day. And tell us also about your institutions. A little bird told me that you're working on something called the Voiceover Village. So I hope that we'll be hearing more teasers about this as you respond to this question.
Yes, thank you very much, Chico. I appreciate everything that you've said so far and all the work that you've done. And also, I appreciate everybody who has, make sure this day happened. It's amazing to see, and it's so blessed to see. For me, the truth is this. I've always said it, and I always be proponent of this. I'm proud to be African. I carry it everywhere I go. Anywhere in the world that you see me, you must know that I'm an African. So, and that's the way I believe that everybody should carry themselves, you know, the originality. We must always push that originality and push who we are so that, I mean, the world knows. They know, actually, they know that we are around, but, you know, we've always been quiet. You know, we have this conservative style, you know, before, just keep it quiet, you know, maybe they'll just notice something. No, the world's not like that anymore. You must bring yourself, you know, to the fore and say, yes, this is where I am. This is who I am. This is where I am. This is me, right? But there are so many opportunities. If you're here and you want to be a voice talent, I mean, this is one of the best. I would say this is one of the best jobs. Though not everybody has my own kind of experience, right? But this is one of the best jobs ever in the world. Trust me. If you talk to me privately, I can expatiate on that. But that's the truth, you know. It's the truth. It's one of the best jobs ever. And if you're a voice talent, it's actually an honor for you to have your voice inspire people to take action and also transform lives. It's an honor. It's a privilege. You know, just imagine your voice just going out on different media, and people are loving it. People are, you know, I remember an ad that I partook in, and I remember where it was played somewhere, and I saw the reaction of people, and I'm like, wow, you know, you're just in a studio doing stuff, and you just see it, you hear it played out there, and people are rejoicing, people are happy, makes them, you know, it's a lot. We run the Voiceover Academy and the Voiceover Bank. Voiceover Academy is privileged to be the pioneer voiceover institution in Africa, and we've done so much. We've graduated over about 850 people, you know, who are there doing great stuff out there. We're proud of each and every one of them. We have different courses for people to take, whether they're online or offline. You know, we're always there. But I know a lot of people love being offline, so it's always fun. Really, it's always fun. Then the Voiceover Village is a major project that we're working on. Our goal is for 2026 to have our groundbreaking ceremony. It's a massive project. Sometimes scares me, but I know it's possible. You know, we've done the impossible before, so it's not a big deal. It can happen, and it will happen. We're looking at about 5 to 6 plots of land where we're going to have different things for voice talents. We're going to have Charlottes. It's going to be a creative place where you can have creative retreats, right? So for example, we're having one of my dreams is maybe 2026 or 2027, the Africa Voiceover Day is going to be at the Voiceover Village. Just imagine everybody coming from different parts of Africa, you know. It's going to be lovely, you know, just everybody chilling you know, poolside or beachside, you know, having fun and just playing. That's my dream, you know. So the Voiceover Village it's a massive dream, and it's going to come to pass. We're moving by faith, and we've already started, and it's coming alive. So in any way you decide to support us, and you know, we're here. But yes, it's a privilege and it's an honor to be here and to also support this initiative, because like I said before, it's going to outlive us, and I'm looking forward to the greater things that are going to happen with the Africa Voiceover Day. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Shobo. This is so commendable, beautiful. When we said Mr. Shobo is a visionary, yes, we knew what we're talking about. So thank you so much, Mr. Shobo. And we look forward to the Voiceover Village. I want to be there. I can't buy a plot of land there if it were, except if it was for sale, but then I like to play there, hang out with voiceover artists like myself. Yeah, all right, let's move on to the next person. So still talking about, advice to voice talents in Africa at the Voiceover Day and their own voiceover institution. Let's speak to Jennifer Canary of Kenya. She has been on this voiceover journey for over 2 decades, close to 3 decades now, and she's been able to gather a team of individuals in Kenya known as the Voice Actors League of Kenya. And I am privileged to be a part of the league as well, and I see the beautiful things happening over there. So well done, Jennifer. Talk to us about AVD and what we can be expecting from VOG. Okay, you're muted now. Okay, need to unmute you. All right. Can you attempt to unmute over there? I think you can now.
Done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm almost sad it's ending, coming to a close, but yes, this is just the beginning. The conversation continues. Definitely with the Voice Actors League of Kenya. Love the representation in the house. Thank you guys for showing up. And the fact that even though we're called Voice Actors League of Kenya, we have members from Nigeria, Tolu and Remy. Yes, definitely King E. So we're beyond Kenya. We're actually considering rebranding to VALA, Voice Actors League Africa. We shall see how that goes. But in the meantime, I saw someone ask from Zambia about a place they could hook into and learn. You can go West Way or East Way. Karibu, welcome to the Voice Actors League of Kenya. There's a lot going on in Nigeria to help young, new talent. And we're striving to do what we can on the East Coast of Africa to give you workshops and to equip you, especially for the marketing, the business aspect, the branding, which we have not, that's actually the key we're learning now. And I think Africa Voiceover Day is going to be big for that. One of the main things I love that's going to happen is the awareness of the fact that voice acting is a job that people have worked for, invested in, been in for years. And for those of us who are full-time talent, that's where we earn our bread and butter. And too often there's people saying, I'm paying you how much for what? Just talking? That has to end, where people are not appreciative of what the voice brings to the production. So Africa Voiceover Day is going to be huge for that. And it backs up people. It feeds into the rate conversation. It feeds into the everything we've spoken about. Us carrying ourselves as voice actors into any space. King E is amazing in how wide you can go. You're so much more than just a voice, if you understand that. And so Africa Voiceover Day is big already for bringing that into our space. So I'm grateful to be part of it. And yeah, I'm looking out for what's coming.
Thank you so much, Jennifer Kanari from Kenya, the founder of VALC, Voice Actors League of Kenya. Beautiful. All right, let's move on. Let's talk to another visionary. He is the founder of the Nigeria Voice Bank. This has started since the 2011-12-ish and is still pushing forward till now. I'm talking about no other person than Mr. Emeka Onunkwo, who is also the convener of the VO Africa Conference. Mr. Emeka, let's talk about AVD, that's Africa Voiceover Day, and what we'll be expecting from your organizations this year. Okay, you're muted. Kindly unmute. Oh,
I was just saying to myself, if you unmute me, I will speak. Right. I feel really excited about what's happening here today. And when you talk about living a dream, I want to confidently say that I am living a dream today. One of my dreams. When I started VO Africa, I had several conversations with a lot of people. Jennifer Canary, you're one of the people I have extensive conversations with. I was talking about the integration of the African voiceover space because it was non-existent until post-COVID. Then we had the first VO Africa conference, And we could see, we had Kenyan speakers, we had Chilu from South Africa, we had West African speakers. We could see that the aspiration is no different anywhere. The excitement, the grit, the tenacity, the hard work is no different anywhere. The passion is no different. But the thing is, there was a lot, the information, we were lacking in information, we were lacking in training, we were lacking in experience, we were even lacking in hope, which is one of the things I saw I was missing. And people could not comfortably have a voiceover dream. It's changing. We're talking African Voiceover Day. The world is taking notice. We have a logo that in 2-3 years, a brand that in 2-3 years, you no longer have to say it's African Voiceover Day. The people see that and say, oh, it's Africa Voiceover Day. It'll get to a point where you say AVD and the world knows what it means. It'll be in the calendar of the world. In America, it will be celebrated African Voiceover Day. In South America, in North America, globally. Now we've come to that point in time. So today, Max, for me, it's a point in time. It's a major point in time. Now, I'm also quite excited about the doors of opportunity it will open up for a lot of people. It'll be like a leapfrog. You see a lot of people trying to do something, they're struggling. They would push it to this day because there will be a momentum for them that will push them. There will be energy in the atmosphere for people who are trying to do stuff. People will no longer have to struggle to talk about what voiceover is. You will see journalists write about voice acting. You will see presenters talk about voice acting. People will be featured in interviews. You will see that the narrative will change. Like Jennifer talks about having to explain why you have to charge. Soon enough, you wouldn't have to, for some people, you wouldn't have to explain all of that. Now, it's beautiful because the bells will ring. It will resonate in countries. I know one of the challenges I've had is when you give me casting opportunities in some regions, it's really difficult to find voice talents in those regions. I've been doing casting across the East African, the East African region. Yes, we've gone to 3 countries in East Africa. And in one of the countries, I had really it was challenging. First of all, people could not believe the price because it was a massive project. It was good money, but people didn't. Why would anybody pay you for that? In fact, in some region, people were asking us to give them money to come to studio to cast before they can come out and cast. And we're talking about big money, but that's because of the orientation. I said to someone, don't worry, somebody will get this project. I want it to be a local because we have people from the UK and from other places. And I keep saying, I want a local to get this project in this region so that he will talk about it. People will hear and people will know that, okay, it's different. Now, we will need success stories. We will shout them out. It will help grow the industry. All right, let me stop preaching. Now, to talk about View Africa, it's another season for us. In the penultimate week of August, we will have the 4th View Africa conference. We've been planning. It's going to be quite interesting. All of what is happening is just helping the planning. In fact, I was taking notes because I was getting ideas for sessions that should hold in the conference. So beautiful. We will have our next conference in the penultimate year, but there's also something we're planning, what we call Ubuntu, where we're trying to build a community for voice talents. And the focus of this community is to help voice talents go from learning to doing to actually earning. So we want to work with some people grow. People come into the system, they learn, and then they grow, they start doing something with their voice and they start making money with their voice. So that's what it's going to be a closed community. Yeah. But the idea is I'm now interested in success stories and the voiceover industry. So yeah, that's the beat for me.
Wow, thank you so much, Emeka. You're also doing a lot at your end. Ubuntu, something I look forward to. And I also look forward to the Voiceover conference happening in August. I believe that people can just go on the internet and search for View Africa conference. So let's not mix it up. There is the Voiceover conference, which is convened by King E, and then there is VO Africa conference. So there are two different conferences, and we look forward to that as well, happening in August. So thank you so much, Emeka. Let's move on to one of the elders as well in the house, from Nigeria, is a father figure, because I see how he operates, especially with his community, the Voice Acting Africa community. He has helped a lot of people. He's so generous with information. I'm talking about Remy Olutumai, founder of Voice Acting Africa. What's your parting words for us voiceover artists across the continent, and what should we look forward to for Voice Acting Africa?
Okay. I would like to share just 3 thoughts, and how you take them must be personal. You cannot look at another person to find out what their opinion is about the thought. It's something you need to take personally. One, understand that your talent doesn't come from a vacuum. So I would invite you to pay attention to how people around you speak. This is your first instrument, not this. The second thing is, I would advise that you try to connect with as many people online as who are open to teaching or giving guidance. You can follow Tolu's podcast, Chilo's podcast. The thing is, what separates the voice actor, from someone who's just thinking about it, is action. That's it. You think, oh my God, you don't have the accent. You know, I need to have an accent. If you don't do the accent, they won't. Please, no, that's for daydreamers. You know, that's what people will not discuss right now. The third thing I'm going to suggest is that for those of us who have platforms, I would ask that the organizers get the questions that have been shared, both here on Zoom as well as on YouTube, and share with as many of us who have platforms so that we can address those questions. The sheer weight of experience here, it should only be for their benefit. It should only be for their benefit. Oh, please, I'd like to take just one opportunity for something personal. Please, just forgive me. Chilo, Sheung, I want to thank you guys for being there to help me pick up the first ever Sovas Award for Best Voice Actor for Animation. I will confess I forgot that I was nominated. Yes. My wife keeps reminding me, "What you?" I said, "Yeah, I know. It's just..." So I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys also for actually bothering to have it on camera, so it wouldn't sound like, "Well, who gave you the award?" They said it. They said it. Do you see it? You know, so I want to thank you guys for that. And I want you, I want everybody, no matter how long you've been on it or how short you've been on it, I want you to understand that we are connected, and I appreciate you and everything that you do, because I know the power of contribution. I have seen it. I have seen it. There was no Sovas Award for Animation from Africa until last year. It is because people have been contributing. So please, even when you're tempted to give up, don't. If you feel underappreciated, don't, just leave that. Please keep doing what it is that you're doing. When the time comes for us to fill in those gaps for you, we will. Jennifer is a witness. Tolu is a witness. When you need us to fill in, we will fill in those gaps so you can stand tall and tell your parents, yes, it's a job. It's not a hobby. Yes. Voice acting is a profession. It's not a hobby. All right, that's it.
Thank you so much, Rem. Man, it's so touching. You know, as you were speaking, it just reminded me of a scene in the Avengers movie where Captain America had been fighting and he was getting tired and it was looking like they would lose the battle. And then somehow there's a portal opening and more Avengers started coming in, the Wakandans and the Guardians of the Galaxy and all of that. Like, and they say, Avengers assemble. So we're here for each other. I mean, we've got ourselves backs, and that's so beautiful. Thank you, Remy, for that heartwarming message. Let's listen to another Amazon in the house before we listen to the elder. You know, you reserve the best for the last. Just saying. All right, so let's listen to Leslie Kasumba from Uganda. And Leslie has been a media giant in a space. She's also a podcaster and the founder of She Speaks Africa. Leslie, tell us about AVD and tell us about what to expect from your corner, what you're doing so far in your corner. Oh wow, we can, but the it's not clear. I don't know why. The audio is sort of scrambling. Okay, maybe
All right,
let's.
can you hear me now?
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
absolutely. Fine,
Okay,
fantastic.
perfect. Sorry. Yeah, I think for me, everybody has said, amazing things. I've learned so many things. I'm just going to bring it back to numbers. As somebody who, working creative and being a voiceover artist, one of the biggest things we're always asked by our parents is, are you going to be able to survive? Can you make money? Is this thing an actual thing? Just to give things into perspective, in 2021, the global voiceover market was valued at 1.5 billion. In 2026, it's estimated to be valued at 2.3 billion. They haven't yet calculated the value of what the African voiceover market is going to be. Remember, I think it's in 2050, 1 in every 5 people in the world is going to be African, which means they're going to need more voices, more representation, more diversity, more people that speak to Africa and for Africa, As if you really want to be a voiceover artist, a voiceover actor, find a way, go to the website, the Africa Voiceover Day, follow the Instagram page, get yourself immersed in it, find out about everything that's happening in the voiceover village. Don't let this just be something where you heard great things and leave it. It's actual work, find ways if you want to train yourself, if you want to learn a bit more. There are so many opportunities. I really believe with everything inside of me, I think it was with everything inside of me that, we're going to get into an amazing place with African voice talent, but outside of the talent and getting a great opportunity, make sure that you're getting paid what you're meant to be paid. Do the research, connect, be part of a community, so that you never find yourself in a place where you feel like you were taken advantage of. It's all good to be able to hear your voice everywhere and walk into places, and you hear your voice, you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But beyond that, make sure that you're protected, speak to people in the industry and connect with other people and share knowledge. There's so much that's going to be happening in the Africa voiceover space. The world literally needs us. The world needs African voices simply because of the number of people and the impact that Africa is having at the moment. So that's what I would say. Study, educate yourself, research, remember the numbers, take yourself seriously, follow, go to the website, Africa Voiceover Day, follow the Instagram page, all of that stuff. Be engaged, take actionable steps. Don't let anything limit you, whatever it is. And also one last thing, find out what part of voiceover you want to specialize in. I think that's also very important. Not every single person is going to be able to go into animation, but if you want to go into animation, get trained, go online, find a way, reach out to different people, get trained, but find out where you want to specialize and how you want to best use your voice. There are documentaries, there's so many different opportunities. Find out about the whole ecosystem of the voiceover world and make sure that your business is, make sure that your business is in place. That is the most important thing, because while it may be exciting that everybody hears your voice, I'm telling you, when people hear your voice and you don't see money and you're having a very hard day, you will not be a happy person at all.
Wow, that was a powerful speech there from Leslie. I really love that. Yes, a lot of action words there. Get out there, get into a community, find out what the rates are, get trained. These are beautiful things that we shouldn't forget, especially for people who are hoping to become voice artists. While she was speaking, I saw Sheon Shobo's hands up. I want to believe that it was inspired by some of the things that she said. Yes, so you can unmute yourself, Mr. Shobo. Would love to.
Yes, I just wanted to say something very quickly. Maybe a lot of people are not seeing it this way, but I would like to say it as well. One of the things I also want to urge voiceover artists to do, because not everybody is going to remain in the booth, right? The recording booth and record. And some of us are going to be responsible for policies. So I also want to urge people, get involved in politics if you can, right? Because politics gives rise to governance. Governance gives rise to policies, and policies at the end of the day will also affect you. It will affect your business. It will affect your voiceover business, right? So as much as possible, not everybody. It's not obvious. It's not going to be everybody. But if you're courageous enough, right, be part of politics, so that you can also influence policy and policies that have to do with the creative economy, right? Like the voiceover industry, for example. I might not necessarily be in politics, but I'm going to support politics at some point because I know that I want this industry. I want more eyes and more voices, right, in this industry. So I definitely would like to be part of the things that shape policies for that industry, right, whether in Nigeria or in Africa, right? So as much as possible, like I said, not all of us would continue in the booth. Some of us might graduate from the booth to drafting policies, or making policies that affect our industry. Some of us are just going to be people that are going to advocate for the industry generally. So I just want to put that out, just in case we have some people who are very good with advocacy, politics, and the rest of that. Don't run away. This might just be something for you. All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shobo, for adding some light to what has been said already. This has been a beautiful event so far. I've enjoyed listening to you all. I mean, how many times do you get to have these powerhouses in Africa come together to speak about voiceover? Everybody becomes a student. Everybody learns something. So it's worthy of appreciation. Unfortunately, Nadim Khalid from Egypt couldn't continue with us till the end of the meeting. I would have also called him up to share some thoughts, but it is worthy of note that Nadim has been a powerful voiceover advocate in Egypt and also in the Arabic space over there and North Africa, and he's been doing amazing. He has a platform called Evolution, so you should check that out if you are from that region, and you can find out more about how you can be a voiceover artist and, look into what's happening over there. So this is to say thanks to Nadim Khalid as well from Egypt for being a part of this and lending his voice to Africa Voiceover Day. Now let's listen to Elder Chilulemba from South Africa and Zambia. He has a lot of things to say about voiceover, and I don't want to put it as a question. I just want you to say what you have in the wealth of your heart, like Father Abraham would do, father of many nations. But then I know Elder Chilu has a lot to say to us. So Elder Chilu, the floor is all yours. Okay, you can unmute now.
All right, cool. I'm unmuted. Father Abraham, T-Code, you went there. That's so funny. Okay, first of all, I want to say to Remy, congratulations once again. If you want to see Remy's amazing work, you can go to the SOVAS website because they've showcased some of the jobs that were the winners for this previous event. And it was Sean who actually grabbed your award. I was just there as a fan, appreciating your work, but salute to you. I want to say, just as we close, that, oh, by the way, Leslie and I have known each other since 1999. Showing our age, but we were in a drama production at church, if you remember, Leslie, in 99 at Rhema. Anyway, I digress. I want to just say that all the people who you see represented among the speakers, what sets them apart is hard work, focus, and just that drive. And all of us, we spend money, we earn a lot of money because at the end of the day, this is a business, but we also spend on the things that allow us to carry on as a business. So if it's website hosting, microphones, equipment, all that kind of stuff, we sacrifice in order for us to get the reward. I say this because I laughed when somebody mentioned that, people want things for free. I think it was Emeka who said people wanted to be paid to go to audition. And that attitude is crazy. I don't understand it. I actually had words earlier today because somebody from my Facebook page reached out to me and said, I want to attend this Zoom event that's happening right now. Please, can you send me money for data so that I can attend? I'm like, we are here to sacrifice and share knowledge. Why would I, make a plan? So at the end of the day, anyway, in a nutshell, this is a business. Sacrifice, learn as much as you can, and you will reap the rewards at the end of the day. And salute to each person who's spoken. I'm inspired, I'm rejuvenated, and I look forward to more of these. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Elder Chilu. It's a pleasure to listen to you speak and to encourage. You're encouraging everyone to sacrifice, to invest. That's so beautiful from you. And on this note, I want to say a very big thank you to everyone that has been a part of this event, from those who put the events together, to those who attended, to this event reverberated across board beyond what we even expected. We had short time to plan for it, but yet the response is so remarkable. And now I look forward to next year's Africa Voiceover Day, because already I can imagine voiceover organizations across Africa putting up events, challenges, those voiceover challenge that you do and stuff like that, just to commemorate the day. Shout out to everyone. Shout out to Nadim Khalid, who is not here, who is the coordinator for Gravy for the Brain Arabia, and also the founder of Evolution. Shout out to him. Shout out to Jennifer Canary of VOG in Kenya. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you so much, Sean Shobo of the Voiceover Academy and the Voiceover Village that we're looking up forward to. Thank you for being here. Emeka Nunkwo, we so much love your presence with us, because you've also added life from a voice casting director's point of view. Thank you for lending your support. Remy Olutumai. Remy is also an elder, a voice director for animation, West Africa's first, by the way, and the founder of Voice Acting Africa. Thank you for being here. Leslie Kasumba, thank you so much for all you do, for the voiceover work you've been doing since the 90s. And you're still standing strong. And King E, that's King Emmanuel Afemike, the founder of Voiceover Workshop and Media. You can see, obviously, this Zoom account belongs to the Voiceover Workshop. So they've also been a very strong supporter of the event. We say thank you so much. And we look forward to the Voiceover Conference. Everyone, I'm inviting you again to attend the Voiceover Conference. It's a 2-day event, a hybrid conference, hybrid. Day 1 is virtual, so you can attend from any part of the world. Day 2 is both virtual and physical. So if you're in Nigeria, you can move to Lagos and be a part of the event on the mainland. And if you're not in Nigeria, you can attend virtually. And guess what? It's absolutely free. So yes, we'll be expecting everybody there. Shout out to Bidemi Adedire, the founder of APVA, Association of African Podcasters and Voice Artists. Wells, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Shout out to everyone. Thank you all for being a part of this. And I would just encourage us, let's look forward to next year's Voiceover Day, Africa Voiceover Day. Follow us on our Instagram page. We'll be communicating to you guys. We'll be sending you emails from time to time, letting you know what's next. And if you want to reach out to us, our email is africavoiceoverday@gmail.com. africavoiceoverday@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and on LinkedIn as well. And we'll love that you be a part of our world. This is the most we can the much we can take today on Africa Voiceover Day. And like I said, if you have content, voiceover done in indigenous languages, tag us. We'll be happy to share them. I think this is all I can say for now. My name is Tolulope Kolade. T-Code is my nickname. I'm a voiceover artist, the host of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective. You should check it out. It's on podcast platforms and also on YouTube. I bring voiceover artists. I have interviews with them, like Jennifer, like Shion Shubo, and a couple of them like that. So you can learn about voiceovers there as well. It's been a pleasure hosting this event today, and I want to say thank you for being a part of it. Well, this is where we call it a wrap, and we will see ourselves next year for Africa Voiceover Day. Of course, we'll be seeing ourselves in conferences and events here and there, but next year we'll see for the next Africa Voiceover Day. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll be closing the room in 60 seconds. So it's been a great time. You can drop your emojis, you can drop your thank yous, you can drop your Instagram handles, your, follow each other, link up, connect as we count down to the end of this event. It's been a pleasure, guys. From me to you, I say bye and see you at AVD 2025. Bye for now, guys.